Welcome back to Firearms and Reloading. So today I'm going to show you how to set up a set of dies in the Lee Classic turret press. So what you're obviously going to need is a turret. I actually write on the turret just to give me a quick visual reminder of what's in each turret in case my boxes get confused. Now I remove the operation rod while doing this, just means that you can freely turn the turret without interference and get it all set up. Obviously when you load you put that back in. So important thing to remember too with this is the turrets do rotate in an anti-clockwise direction. I've actually marked my turret with an arrow too, because occasionally you'll set them up and you'll realize you've put them in backwards. Thankfully I've only done that once, hence the arrow. So first die that you're going to want to set up, now I should mention these are 44 Magnum dies. Well, actually they do 44 Special and 44 Magnum, so there's a little bit of extra work involved in setting these dies up. If you were loading and setting up a standard set of pistol dies like 9mm or like 45 ACP, you wouldn't have two different sets of instructions. It'd be one set of instructions. 38 and 357 are the same. It's the same set of dies, because the only real difference at this point in time is the length of the case. Obviously pressure too being a Magnum caliber, but the dies will do both, which, you know, that's a huge advantage. And for Lee, I guess you produce one set of dies and then let the user set it up how they want to do it. So basically this is your Carbide full length sizing die. This is the 4-die Carbide set. The beauty of Carbide is you do not need to lubricate the cases. So start screwing the resizing die in. Now, other important note, put your shell holder in the bottom of the ram, and you want to run the ram all the way up and spin it down until it makes contact with the shell holder. Now you want to also make sure you take out the play of the turret on this particular process. If you were using another press, it wouldn't matter. So with that touching, screw the lock ring down. Lee says finger tight. Got a little plastic wrench just to help. And that's all it takes. So that's the reload resizing die done. Now you've got the powder through expanding die. This puts a flare on the neck of the case to allow you to seek your projectile nicely, and it also allows you to drop powder through the center. It is hollow. I take the little adapter out just while I'm setting it up. If you do that, don't turn it upside down. And so this one spins in again. Bring the ram up until it touches with the shell holder. Keep screwing it in. Okay, once it touches, take the ram away. Now what I do at this point is I take a marker to make your life easy, and I mark just on the actual turret itself, and I've already got a mark on this lock ring, so I'm just going to move it around into the correct position here. Just make sure that's correct. Okay, move that into place. There we go. Right, drop the ram away. And so if you're loading for 44 Special, you will turn this out one full rotation. And if you're loading for 44 Magnum, you will turn out an additional 1 3/4. So there's your additional 1. And there is your additional 3/4 there. So at this point, secure the die with your fingers and tighten the lock ring. Just like that. So the bullet seating and crimping die. Now what I do is I make sure the seating adjuster is backed all the way out. This process is once again very similar. Keep spinning it in until it touches your shell holder. Just be careful, you might have to back the lock ring off a bit more. Alright, so it's touching. Right, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to mark. I'm marking the lock ring just for convenience. You can mark the die body if that's easier. And then a dot on top of the turret. So, now, this one's a little bit different. 3 full rotations for 44 special. And you're backing this out, obviously. So, there's your 1, 2, 3. Now, you're going to see a reoccurring theme here. For Magnum, you're going to back it out 1 3/4 more. There's your 1. And there is your 3/4 there. So, once again, tighten down the lock ring. Now, if you didn't have the 4 die set and you only had the 3 dies, you wouldn't get the additional crimping die. And at this point, you would then adjust this die body further in to provide a crimp. We're not going to do that today because obviously I have the separate crimping die. Personally, I think if you're going to ever load cast projectiles or even some of the copper plated stuff, you're going to want this extra die. The other thing it does, it's got another carbide ring in it, and it does a post size. Just in case something's happened to that particular case, that puts it through one final resizing, just on the off chance it catches an error. So, this is the crimp die, this is the final one. Back out the plug again, and you're going to screw this one in until it's just touching the shell hole. So the rest I like to have touching firmly, but this one is a just touching. So just touching and no more, and then tighten the lock ring. And there you go, you're all set up. So as you work your way through the process, you will have to make some adjustments as you go. You shouldn't have to make any adjustments to your sizing die. That should be nice and straightforward. The next station here, this is the powder through expanding die. It comes, we took this out previously, a little adapter here. If you had an auto dispenser, like I've got the auto disc dispenser, which I'll show you later, that screws in there, and when the little collar on the inside lifts up, it activates that dispenser. Or you simply can screw this adapter in. This adapter has to be in if you're not using an automatic dispenser. And then any of your standard plastic funnels, MTM, Lee, Lyman, they all just sit in there like that. What I've also done, these plastic funnels are all well and fine, but I also have another one here. Obviously I've got multiple powder through dies, and this one's actually threaded on the inside. I had to tap and drill and tap this myself, 5/8 24, and it fits the area for 1/9 aluminium funnels. They're really nice, and I find that just to clear everything else, I need this drop tube. They make 3-inch drop tubes, and you can actually screw them together. And so, because this will be the first time I'm loading this 44 Magnum, I want this drop tube in place with the funnel, so I can load from the Charge Master rather than relying on an auto powder dispenser. As I get a load developed, then I can switch over to the auto powder dispenser and increase that speed. So just get rid of this again. So obviously you've got your bullet seating die. Like I said, if you were going to crimp with this die as well, you'd dial that further in based on how much crimp you want. And this is the plug here to adjust the seating depth. So I start with it back quite a way out, and you just work out where you want to set that bullet based on your case overall length and where the canalure is in some of your production bullets. Obviously same again with this one here. What you do, this is the Crimp Die, you'll put your case in there and you'll dial this down just very, very slowly until you feel it touches the top of the case, and then you'll drop your ram away, drop the case away, and dial it in half a turn for a light crimp, and then you can progressively add it on there, remembering that too much crimp will deform your bullet. And now you're ready to start loading 44 Magnum. Okay, so now you want to do a final confirmation of everything. So I've got a 44 Magnum case and a Hornady 240 grain XTP. This is what I'm going to use to shoot in the barrel. So we're going to run it through the carbide sizing die. Just remember with the carbide there's no lube required. Right, now I've taken the operation rod out just because this is a test only, and there's no powder going into this case. So I'm going to bring it up. Now remember, you only need to put a flare on it as much as you need to seat the bullet. The less flare that you put on the case, the longer its life. So you just do a very minimal amount. I can barely even tell there's a flare on there. And that, with a bit of luck, will be more than enough to seat this projectile. So, rotate the turret again. Now, remember I've got my seating stem dialed all the way out, well, pretty close to being all the way out, and I'm going to see how it goes. This will also tell me how we're looking in terms of the neck flare. I think we're probably good. Let's give this a couple of turns. Okay, I think that flare was probably pretty good. So I'm going to keep going. Now with this particular projectile, my case overall length needs to be 1.6. So, and that will be round about where the canalure is too. So I'm just going to keep going. Now we're getting close to the canalure. I'm just going to double check it. It's probably going to be way over length. Yep. Now for those of you who don't understand, a canalure is this little groove here in the bullet where it's designed that you crimp. Not all projectiles have a canalure, but if it's there, it's designed to be used. Close. Okay, that's probably far enough. 161 at the moment, remembering we want 160. So I'm just going to go a little bit at a time until we come to 160. 1606, I should say. A bit more. Let's go. More. Okay, and we're pretty much bang on. So as you can see there, that's the canalure, and the rim of the case is just sitting in the canalure almost perfectly. So that's great. So we're now happy with the seating plug and its position. Now a good habit to be in too, and I forgot to do this before I started, was actually just putting a mark on the top of your plugs. Just gives you an idea of how much you've turned that plug. So now we've got to do a crimp. So we come around here, plug backed all the way out. So this will do a final size, make sure there's no bulges in the case. Now we're going to hold that ram down hard as far as it goes till it hits the stops basically. And we're going to slowly turn this plug until we feel it contact the neck of the case. Out there. Right, so Lee says for a light crimp you're going to want to turn it approximately half a turn. So we're going to start there and we're going to do half a turn. Just like that. With jacketed projectiles it's not so bad, but like I said, with lead or with copper plated bullets or copper wash bullets, it becomes more critical that you only give it enough crimp just to hold it firmly in place. And so we'll bring this back in here, bring the ram down to the stop, remove it out, and we have a nice beautiful crimp. So I don't know whether it comes out in this on the camera, but if you look very, very closely, there's a nice taper at the end going into the cantilever. The case is nice and uniform and the bullet is seated evenly. So that is a perfectly set up set of dies.